So hello and welcome to Maypole. Looking from the previous video, you can't see exactly what I mean by how much work there is left to do. So I thought, well, I'll bring you in on the editor point of view, so you can see exactly how much is left, and you can see that all the distant fields and their different textures. And if I hit anywhere there, you'll see that that's the play area, or the borders for the play area. So everything outside of them is you can't go, and that's all the area that needs to be done. And all of these are physical fields that if that border wasn't there, you could absolutely come in and actually work these fields. They are real fields. They just you can't buy them, but you own them from the get-go. Or in a sense, if I put if I made these buyable fields, which would look cool from out there and would work obviously with seasons, because then you would have things growing on them all through the year. And believe me, I have contemplated on it. You would end up with a lot of calculations being done by the game for seasons, and I'm not sure. And the other downside is I would end up having to, the spawn points, I'd end up having to put like a box around it so you can't get out of that box. So you would, or put the trigger underneath the map, so you spawn there and you drop immediately below the map, because or I'd end up having to put the spawn locations in a central area outside of the map, which I could actually do, all within one location, and you'd spawn there, but you wouldn't be able to leave that shed, for example. But that's a lot of work to get all of these fields to work with seasons, because it's a lot of work just getting all the fields to work as they are. Or not to work, but to be in the game, because each one I have to physically make. As you can see, I'd already started building or lining up the next one for here, and taking this all the way along to here, and this is where the pig farm would be, well out of the play area, which is all the way back there. But from the distance of this field, you would kind of make out that there's another farm in the distance, so it makes sense to have the pig farm all the way over there. But and all of these have got their crash detectors in, so I'm not saying I would, but if I did decide to expand the play area to include all of this, then all of this would function as it should do within the play area. So a lot of work, and I literally have to do basically this for each individual one, which is, I've set a goal that it would be like six fields I would do a day minimum. They need to be brought up actually, because it's easy to come into the map and go and look at it from this point of view. You'd go, oh, there's not many to do, until you turn around and then you go, oh, I can't be arsed. So it's so easy to lose interest and just want to go and play the game. And because I'm picky, even though this is outside of the play area, I'm still picky, and so it takes a little bit longer than what some map makers would have it done. But that every map maker is different, and I've always been high on detail as opposed to as opposed to, and detail is in not in high detail, i.e. you know, boxes and all that all over the place. I'm about foliage wise. Hedges and trees are definitely where I put my focus, the more natural side of the landscape, because with that you can actually remove, well, the hedges you can't, but the trees you can physically remove whilst in the game. Something like a skip or something like that, you can't do anything with. It's there for life unless you decide to go into the editor and deal with it yourself. So I try not to put too much emphasis on static detail that is there from the get-go. But this isn't going how I wanted it. It's starting to look like it's too far down. And I can see why. It's because the road starts going uphill a bit. That's better. But anybody who, when the map is out, if they decide that they wish to expand and play within this area, they could easily do so. I'm not going to tell you how. That would be defeating the objective of having a play area. But yeah, you could absolutely go and play in this area, and obviously you'd be opening up so you could play with the pigs. I've just got to do their nav mesh, which is somewhere here. I've just got to build their pen and then build their nav mesh and then line up their feeding trough. That's why I haven't done this part, completed this part and done the pen, because I want to do the nav mesh and then and bring the troughs to the nav mesh. So if somebody did decide to remove the world boundaries, so they could play over this area, they could. The pigs would function correctly. They wouldn't have pigs freezing at the feeding trough and a nav mesh that didn't function correctly. And that's what I mean by the detail. But of course the other side is that these hedges, although they expand the full length of this road, wherever I want to make a break in, I can delete the hedge and do whatever to the other hedges to make the road between. And okay. No, that's across the road. We don't want it across the road. How far can we go to there? There we go. That'll do. And then we'll take one of these and we'll drop it in behind the shed here somewhere. Not literally there. Actually, it will be there because of that. Alright, anyway. As you can see, I've already got a break in the hedge here for a field to go over this end. This was when I was going to take this going all the way along. Might still happen on this side. It doesn't happen all the way around. It might happen on this side. It depends. there will be another poplar forest over in that corner, over that side. It'll just be, because there isn't really poplars that grow, or big tall trees like this that grow in this, where this map's situated, but I wanted to give some variations, and these ones obviously change texture with the seasons, whereas these ones over here don't, which is the ones that I was on about. I might make just cardboard cutouts of them effectively, because they won't physically change texture, but at the same time, if it becomes, somebody expands the playable area, they would see that the cardboard cutouts. And that might be a problem. But once I've got this area done, and all I want to do is get to about here, which would be like 2-3 fields, maybe 4 fields in this area. But I've got to go out soon, so by the time this video would have gone live, I'd be back, but I've got to go out and sort some stuff out. And there'll have to be a road that breaks through somewhere over here that will join all the fields together. If I do another map like this, I wouldn't have so much of a area that you could that would be set for distant fields. I would have a smaller area, so that there'd be like 1 or 2 fields back from the play area that I could then use missions on, and they would work as workable fields, but you couldn't actually do anything on them, or you wouldn't be able to get to them. And because this is going to be by the pig farm, a lot of fields over this side will end up becoming sugar beet and potatoes, and canola. This will be more focused towards that side of things. So I'm kind of rushing a little bit just to try and get these 4 fields done before I have to go. Oh jeez, that's going down, isn't it? It is. You always get... No, I didn't want that, thank you. That. And... yep, that's perfect. So what we'll do with this one is we will change its rotation to, say, 60 maybe. Yeah, 60. And then this one to 0. And take this all the way down. These edges look like they're going down too far into the ground, don't they? But they aren't. It's just my perspective of them. Right, so breaking the hedge here. Resize this one. Let's say 1.5 and this one to clicked on the wrong thing. Now go back, do it like that. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, maybe 1.2. That's better. Love how the edges all mess up. Can be a little fiddly sometimes, especially when you're rushing. In fact, what I might do is move it down to there somewhere. A bit so that it comes in there. Yeah. So that means we need to resize this side actually. And shuffle all these over. To here. So we will go 1.6. Nope. Just try to see what 2 does. That'll work. Now normally I'd put a gate here and then I'd get the actual width, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not putting any gates. The only gates that are actually on the outskirts of the field, on the outer fields, are ones that are directly within visual range of the play area. But that's like that. And we'll have that situated like so. So we've got a way into this field, a way into that field. And we'll take this up. Now, in reality, what I've done before I did this would be draw the road, paint the road in, and then build the hedges to the road, but I'm going to do it in a slightly different way. Just click off that, resize this down to 1. There and there. And that's our road going up between the fields. I'm not going to paint any hedges, and then we change this to square. Select the terrain tool, not change that. Select the brush size and make sure we've selected the correct tool as well. Foliage, that's better. And then we'd paint the field boundaries order the field in. And again, a lot of people wouldn't make it so tidy because it's an out of bounds field, so it would just be, you know, painted in roughly. But I have to have it so it's all, you know, tidy. And that needs smoothing out a bit there, apparently. There we go. And when we can, there's two ways we can fix that. We can either delete the previous and then repaint, or as we can see there, we could zoom out and then come back down and it's fixed, or it would have fixed, but apparently it decides to prove me wrong. But there's two ways of fixing that particular problem. Same with crops. If you have altered the terrain, the height, lowered it or increased it, if you zoom out and then come back down, the crops tend to have all resettled on the new height of the terrain, and that would be one field. And then we would go to, say, wheat, change this. Now what I'm going to do, instead of 6, what would 5 give us? That would give us that. I'm going to do that and see if that's how seasons, it's working with seasons, is because it would be effectively a winter crop at this point because it's growing, as opposed to already grown. I didn't want to move my mouse, it froze. I suspect that is the case. It makes sense. Still not completely smooth there, but we'll leave it because it's getting close to the road at that point, and I don't want to change the road and have hedges floating then. There we go. Oh, forget it, it's fine. Stop trying to be perfect, I guess. But that's how they all end up looking. We end up doing things like that, and we'd build the next field here and the next field up there, and we'll just go with it and hope that we get it sorted. And just contemplating how I want this to go, and I think I've decided what I will do is carry this on over this side and have it so it goes off into what would be a field there, and then carries on off up here. Or no, actually, delete that one. Plan B. Oh, I didn't need to delete that one actually. This goes into a field here, and this will go into the field here, but the road will carry on up here into the next field. So, you know, for me, it's all about the future of the map rather than the present as well. The future being, like I said, if I did expand the map one day, I wouldn't want to have to come in and do a bunch of work to get the new area that I'd had all going as workable. So it's best to get into that almost workable state now, and then later on it would be easy to work with. I don't know how big I want to make these particular fields though. Because I don't want to do too many small fields either. So I'm thinking about that size. Expand this one. To here, I guess. I know, very square looking fields, but that is actually going down into the ground, isn't it? It is. Damn. Let's just fix that. And then this will go right to the edge of the map, and effectively it will become two fields because that will go straight across, and this one will be bigger than that field, and this one will probably become a cornfield, and the other one would probably be a wheat field. So that's still going down. It is. Jeez. Oh, it's because it's going up a hill. Yeah, that's why. Never mind. It was going down a hill, now it's going up a hill. And there we go. Done. And then this one. We will take across this way. And don't do many videos on within the editor because it gets very repetitive. You know, this is literally all I am doing, is putting hedges in and smoothing out little bits here and there and putting fields in and then saving and moving on. Normally after I've done half the fields I would save the map just in case I had a power cut or anything like that, because it'd be, although only losing 3 fields, it's still, you'd think all of that work that you've lost. And with winter on its way, effectively it makes sense to do a lot more saving regularly, because this is when power cuts are more likely to be a thing. So as we can see, there'd be 2 fairly big fields, one being a lot bigger than the other. and we can now continue the road on. Into what would be that field. No, we're on wheat still, aren't we? We are. So let's just get rid of all of that I just put down by accident. And get the... I'm not going to take it as close to the hedge this time because I want to put some trees there. I think it's time to do that, and maybe some down that side as well, dotted around. And I'll take it from this side so I can them edges aren't very straight, are they? I could have swore I set them to 0. Whatever. Better. I'll zoom out and go back in. Fixed. And we'll do a quick save here. And so I can get a sip of my coffee. Come on, save. There we go. And this one we will take a lot closer to the hedge. And it'll be to the end. And edge of the map always needs smoothing out, especially with DEM files. Let's give it a once over. Thought there would be. So that's that. Now we need to paint the foliage on here. And we will do another wheat field. This time fully grown, ready to harvest. Oh shoot. To justify how much emphasis I put on the outside for detail, it's even snow masked, so the road is actually snow masked all the way up to the end. So yeah, if you're going to do detail, you may as well do it correctly the first time. That's how I see it. Because what's the point in doing detail if you're not going to use it correctly? You're just quickly slapping it here and there and then going, that's it, done. Now a cornfield. You know, there's a lot of maps are rushed today, and that's the problem. Because maps' lifespan is so short, people they don't put as much focus in. They look good, don't get me wrong, but they don't put as much focus in as they could. And the maps that have a lot of focus on tend to be the maps that people remember and play a lot more often, because they can see the amount of time put in them. You know, but then there are some maps that have had a lot of time put in them and they hardly get played. And I can see why certain map makers, if they've had a map like that hasn't really had that much people playing it, or has died quite quickly, and why they wouldn't put too much emphasis on the outskirts in detail wise, and they quickly finish a map. But I can't do it like that. It bugs me. If I see I'm not going to say what map or whose map, but there was a particular map and there's a zebra crossing, and the zebra crossing was floating, and I was looking at it thinking, really? You know, it just doesn't make sense. Why is the zebra crossing floating? You know, it's like some maps that have the barbed wire in. Some people don't have this part as being collidable, but they have the post as collidable. That's because by default the posts are collidable and the barbed wire isn't. It's so easy just to click on the barbed wire and then click rigid body. Now you can't drive through. And you do that for each one. And then after you've done it, you can use that one segment and paste it, copy and paste it, and you never have to do it again. But, you know, sometimes I look at it as being lazy. Some ways of just half-arsed on certain things, and that's why I can't play other people's maps, because the moment I see something's wrong, I have to go in the editor and fix it. And I'm not saying mine are perfect by far. There's, you know, if a big map maker got a hold of my map, for example, they could probably turn it around and make it a lot nicer looking and function completely different. But I'm on about, you know, a floating building, or a tree that is floating, things like that, things that have been rushed to be placed. But it is also very easy to place something, and in the editor it would look like it's actually perfectly aligned, and then you go in game and you see that it's floating a few millimeters in the corner or something like that. But in the editor it didn't seem that way, and it's so easy to actually do that, and that's why you can't always jump to conclusions that the map author has being half-arsed on doing their map on that particular one, because it's surprisingly easy. It's like with this tree, you'll see when I push it into the corner, it'll actually rise a bit, and that's because it's hitting the collision. Now to us that looks like it's in the ground, but it's not. Now it is, and that is so easy to overlook. But this is where testing comes in, and if you're willing to put a week's worth of work into making the map, then you should at least account for a couple of months worth of testing. And fixing things. You know, one of Farmer Dad's ways of testing is to actually walk around the map, not drive, physically walk the whole perimeter of the map, and then walk around the centre of the map. So he's literally walking everywhere within the map. And a tree floating here or there, and he will see it. He's straight onto it. And I've had a few floating trees, let's put it that way, not on Maypole, but on Newbie Farm. I had a few floating trees. Now that tree just pops up, but I think it's still under the ground. It is. You know, and before somebody tries to say that I've said, you know, one of the big map makers isn't very good at making maps. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm kind of focusing towards more of the new map makers who aren't that arsed, they just want to get a map out. And I can see what I've done wrong here. The crop is actually not where it should be. So we will knock that back. But I've played some of the big maps, and they've been a lot of fun to play. But the problem is they're big maps, you know, not big maps as in big named maps. I mean big maps as in the play area is a big area, and the fields tend to be like, you know, this kind of size and bigger. Or well, bigger than this, way bigger than this, but you know, it tends to be easy to need more than one person, more focused towards the multiplayer side of things. And I want a map where it isn't focused towards multiplayer, it's focused towards single player. And there are a few, but if I want the hedges to be collidable, I want the fencing to be collidable, and some of them aren't, sadly. Plus I enjoy making maps too much. Now, I think it's starting to look a lot better. We'll just put one tree here. From over there it isn't going to look out of place, but on this field it would look like it's out of place. And as BP would say, would put it, you know, damn map makers, they always they must have a secret lobby or something where they meet and go, yeah, should I place a tree here? And because it always seems that trees are placed where you are going to want the camera to be positioned. But I think that looks decent enough. We got 3 fields done. I mean, that's not too bad. There'd be another field here, or no, a field here. That would become a field, and then probably a grass field in the top corner there. And the pig pen would end up shaping these 2 fields. So these 2 fields would be shaped around the pig pen. I've got to port the building in for the barn for the straw. But it slowly gets there. It just means that when I get back, I've got to do another minimum of another 3 fields, and then I can say, right, do I want to do more today? And the chances are I'd end up getting this area done by the end of the night, and then slowly moving this area down and expanding out across towards this corner. And once this starts being filled in, it will look a lot better, especially right next to the edge of the play area. But we will save it, and I will get ready to go out, and I will have fun, and I will not be doing another editor video, because I find watching somebody just doing the same thing over and over, it gets boring. But yeah, so anyway, again, check out the links in my channel for all the other members of the Monkey Show. Subscribe to them, they all do good content, and until next time, see you later.